Welcome, bipolar winter comrades. We are on a journey to reveal the prophecies of the world's largest and most powerful doomsday cult to usher in the end of all life on Earth. Here, we engage you to help expand the army of responders. We must enlist the intelligence services, military, and media in every country on Earth to thwart this doomsday cult's unfolding plans to execute the world's end. You have reached the podcast of all podcasts.
Hello, welcome to the Bipolar Winter Podcast. It is February 15th, 2024. I am Amy Bonova, and I'm going to be asking Samuel David Steiner a question from one of our viewers. Before we get started, please hit the like button if you enjoy this video, and also subscribe to our channel and share this with your family and friends. Now, the question from the viewer is, why should a Seventh-day Adventist read Bipolar Winter Volume 1 and also get others to read it?
Well, there's a question that comes up in Bipolar Winter every Seventh-day Adventist church member in the world should be aware of. And I'll get to that question in just a minute. There's approximately 25 million Seventh-day Adventist active church members. Most of these people are very good people, and there are probably 10 to 15 million that have become inactive, and another 10 to 15 million that are most likely doing an investigation of the church, looking to see if they want to become a member worldwide. So you're looking at a large group, a large pool of people with a lot of influence. The Seventh-day Adventist Church is a very wealthy organization. It's very well educated. It has the second largest chain of hospitals in the world. Some say it has the second largest chain of private schools in the world. And depending on what your source is, you would think this is a highly educated group of people who, for the most part, are trying to think through who they are, why they are, where they're headed, and what they want for their family and what they want for their children. With that said, there is an issue right off the bat that becomes apparent, and that is you're dealing with a large group of people that believe in a teaching called the investigative judgment, even though that teaching is slowly fading, according to many people, slowly fading from prominence. It still is the core reason why the church in the past has given for its reason to exist. The three angels message is the message that the Seventh-day Adventist Church was founded to give. And that message ultimately ends up being that we're close to the end of the world, and the end of all life on earth is about ready to happen. And only the righteous will be going to heaven, and everything else on this planet will be destroyed. Now, to learn that teaching is not easy. It's a quite complicated teaching to study and learn. And the more you study it, the more tentacles it has, the more it goes into other aspects that provide more foundation for the teaching. And so you're looking at a lot of people who are investigators themselves, who have investigated the church and investigated the investigative judgment doctrine. And basically, what I need is a lot of those investigators to help me investigate something that is very important, unique. And members of the Seventh-day Adventist Church at some point are going to be asking themselves, how did we become the most anti-Jewish and the most anti-Catholic organization in the world? By default, also the most anti-Protestant. And that is because they teach that the Catholic Church has created what is called the mark of the beast. That is worshiping on Sunday instead of Saturday, ultimately. And Protestants have followed in their footsteps, and so the Adventist Church basically clumps the whole group together as a group that is some way aligned behind the first beast of Revelation, who they say is the Catholic Church. And so if you have people investigating the investigative judgment, I'd like them to investigate why it is that Ellen White taught that the members of the Seventh-day Adventist Church and their leaders would become one of the most despised and hated group of peoples on earth. That is an incredible statement to teach. And so, in order to start looking at this, you want to start asking yourself, as a Seventh-day Adventist Church member, is someone making decisions somewhere high in the church that maybe even other leaders in the hierarchy of the church don't even know is being made, or the influence is being used to be able to make agreements happen. Let's look at, for instance, Germany. In Germany before World War II, you had Miss Yost coming to America, traveling all over the place, encouraging people to look at Adolf Hitler with favor. She basically was not alone. She had other people working with her, and the Adventist Church made arrangements for her to speak at some of their major churches and helped her get platforms in different cities so that she was able to reach a lot of influential people in those cities with her message. And during this same period of time, Seventh-day Adventists in Germany were passing out pamphlets and brochures and magazines like Signs of the Time, Life and Health magazine, Religious Liberty, Review and Herald, etc. And in each of these magazines, there was an anti-Jesuit and an anti-Jewish theme, and a need to have a strong Führer was always voiced. In fact, it started focusing on Adolf Hitler as being the strong Führer that needed to be voted in. Well, that's an incredible lobby to have behind a politician, to have thousands of people in the state of Germany going around. And you have to remember, one of the largest populations of Seventh-day Adventists in the world at that time was in Germany. And so there was a lot of influence and a lot of PR going on that helped, in fact, bring Hitler to power. Now, who made the decision to put those materials in the magazines? Who specifically made those decisions? Who made the decision to allow pro-Hitler speakers to come to the United States and go to churches, Adventist churches, and forums that were put together by Adventist lay people or church workers themselves? Who made that decision? And no one has actually ever talked about that and discussed it. You can say in general, well, nobody really made it. It was just a general, tendency. It was a directive. It was a direction that we started heading, and it just organically grew. But that's not the case. Somebody actually made those decisions. Just like someone made the decision with the US government to say to 2,300 young men and women, I want you to go help be guinea pigs at Fort Detrick, Maryland, so that you can help be involved in the creation of the largest offense and defensive biological and chemical warfare agencies in the world. Someone made that decision. In Bipolar Winter, Volume 1, there's a suggestion that a few other projects had some help from the Adventist Church. Project Paperclip, the bringing of Nazis from Germany to the United States, maybe 1,600 scientists like von Braun, who was involved in a lot of the rocket science that went on. A lot of medical doctors, a lot of engineers, a lot of other scientists brought over, and their families given new names, given places to live, given communities they could go to that had their own private schools, had their own private dentists or medical doctors or sanitariums or hospitals, etc. And then offering, let's say, people to be part of projects here and there that are suggested in Volume 1. Who made the decision to have Seventh-day Adventists or the church itself involved in these agreements? Why would we be making an agreement when we're teaching the world that the Seventh-day Adventist Church considers the United States government to be the second beast or the great Satan of the book of Revelation? Why are we making secret agreements to work with them instead of North Korea or Iran or China or Russia, etc.? Who made that decision? And no one's ever really asked those questions and asked them until they got real specific answers. Because in Bipolar Winter, Volume 1, the suggestion is made that there's closed society, there's a secret order that has been involved, a hidden hand guiding the Seventh-day Adventist Church since before it was incorporated. And it is still involved in making decisions and guiding in the directions that the church heads or goes. For instance, who makes the decision that the teaching of 1844 becomes less and less a focus, or that the anti-Catholic Church or the mark of the beast becomes less and less of a focus, or that Ellen White's position as a prophetess becomes less and less a focus of the church's teachings? Who makes these decisions? We need to know specifically, not in general, because an organization with this kind of money can hire PR people, marketing people, promotional people, people that do incredible work at making something appear something that it's not really acting as. And so we need to know what's going on behind the scenes at this point, not just what we're hearing. A lot of people hear a lot of nice stuff because, again, you pay money for people to tell you how to say the right thing and how to present the right thing. But this raises a question that needs to be answered. And who best to answer it than the people who could be affected by these kind of decisions? These are the kind of decisions that the world could look at and start saying, why are you making all of these connections and doing all of these things that make us suspicious of you? This could make the world start being suspicious of Seventh-day Adventists and start maybe even turning on them. And so the idea is to actually get to the point to where we are asking all of these questions and asking investigators within the Seventh-day Adventist Church, church members themselves, to start putting together different pieces of the puzzle so that the hidden links or the hidden combinations that are at play here start becoming open Because ask yourself, if Ellen White said, "We do not want our church members keeping secrets," then who is it in the Seventh-day Adventist Church who said to the Adventist young military-age men, "I want you to go on and make a decision to swear an oath to keep a secret with the U.S. government to help them develop their biological and chemical warfare offensive and defensive weapons." And you can't tell your wife, you can't tell your mother, you can't tell your spouse, you can't tell your pastor, you can't talk about this, and you will be imprisoned in Fort Leavenworth if you do. Who made that kind of decision when in fact Ellen White was telling them, do not make secrets? They're making secrets with what the church teaches is the second beast of the book of Revelation. They're not making it with Miss Sunshine down the street or Mr. Goodwill down at the corner. They're making this decision to connect our men through secret oaths to the greatest and most evil organization the Seventh-day Adventist Church has ever described anything becoming other than the Catholic Church, and that is the U.S. government. So if any of this or all of this is true, I'd like to see these investigators go on and investigate more than the investigative judgment. I'd like them to start investigating who has been and who is even now behind making agreements with secret projects that maybe even now are active and going on and no one knows about. Who's making those decisions that, if the world finds out, is going to make the world prophetically fulfill Ellen White's prophecy? They'll turn on the church members and hate them because of this, or this. It's not just because they keep the Sabbath. That's not why the world's going to turn on the Seventh-day Adventist Church members. That's the story people are told. That's not the reason. There's more to it. And only people who can investigate the investigative judgment have the will, the fortitude, and the desire, the intentions to be able to not stop until they have gotten everybody they know asking this question. And one book that helps you know why and how to ask this question is Bipolar Winter, Volume 1. That's why I implore every Seventh-day Adventist member who ends up hearing this podcast to order from the website bipolarwinter.com or from amazon.com. Order Bipolar Winter Volume 1 and get started looking into what could be behind a lot of things that have gone on in the Seventh-day Adventist Church. That means that we, in order to protect our future, our family, and our family's future, need to understand who's making decisions that could cause the world to hate us. No one wants to be hated. No one wants the world turning on us. So we're seeing worldwide what that looks like by watching people turn on Jews. And so Seventh-day Adventists claim that they're going to even be hated worse than that. Who wants that? So we need to start asking ourselves what's going on here, and let's get busy asking questions by following this podcast, asking questions, leaving comments and questions below these podcasts. And as we have time, we'll start looking into following up on people's suggestions and the different points that they'll bring up so that we can connect dots better and have a better understanding of how this church became so wealthy, how this church has been involved in so many unbelievable secret projects, why, and why they would even get their church members to keep secrets from 1952 up until 1978, somewhere a couple years either side of that, depending on who it is. And so I hope you've enjoyed this podcast and this discussion, and we'll leave your comments below and add insights if you have insights that will help us continue asking better questions. Until next time, thank you.